Hello, welcome back. We're the Bachelor Boys. I'm Jim.
I'm Art.
I've got an absolute gem of a movie for you guys today.
Now, before we get started, do you guys remember a Simpsons episode where Bart is shown an itchy and scratchy reel from 1919, which is then promptly burnt up by the projector? Well, that's kind of what happened to us when we watched Strike Commando. The tape just kind of broke at the end. Luckily, we did manage to get it all recorded, though.
Now on the cover here we've got some epic all-American action dude who's wielding some kind of assault rifle with a scope, got a grenade launcher there, 6 barrels, all of which appear to be firing rockets. I mean, this guy is badass. The movie's directed by Vincent Dawn. Now, I've never heard of Vincent Dawn.
Well, that's because Vincent Dawn is a pseudonym of legendary Italian director Bruno Mattei, who chose the name Vincent Dawn as an homage to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. For those of you who aren't familiar with Bruno's work, he was a director who worked primarily in the niche of exploitation films, producing everything from zombie films to nunsploitation to shark attack films to even a film actually titled Terminator 2.
Strike Commando falls under the genre of cheap Rambo knockoffs, of which there were plenty in the 80s.
Now, there really isn't much plot to Strike Commando. Basically, Strike Commando, played by doofy blonde wonder Reb Brown, is some kind of elite American soldier who spends the majority of the film running through Vietnamese jungles, yelling and blowing things up.
It's never made entirely clear what Strike Commando's mission is, other than to kill enemy dudes and mess up the plans of evil Russian dude named Jakoda, who's pretty badass because he kicks a snake right in the face.
Now, one thing about this film is the sheer amount of yelling involved, most of it coming from Strike Commando himself. However, instead of sounding suitably tough guy and manly, his yells are bizarre and almost ghoulish sounding.
In fact, we thought it only right that this time our top 5 should be Strike Commando yells.
In many Italian exploitation films of the time, it was a regular occurrence to hear cheerful disco soundtracks, in contrast to grim and violent films, and Strike Commando is no exception. Here, have a listen.
It's no secret that Bruno Mattei would often use dialogue that borders on the surreal, and Strike Commando is rife with this.
Examine this scene, if you will, where Strike Commando comes across a massacred Vietnamese village, finding a young boy named Lau, who asks Strike Commando to tell him about the wonders of Disneyland before he passes away.
Cue to the most slobbery, bizarre, and wailing description of Disneyland that we've ever heard.
Amanda, tell me about Disneyland.
They got tons of popcorn there. And all you gotta do is go climb a tree to go eat it. And there's cotton candy, mountains of it. And chocolate milk and Maltons. And there's a genie, a magic genie. And he can't wait to grant your wishes.
Eventually there's this amazing scene where Strike Commando's packing a knife and stabs this dude who's got him around the neck.
Our Father who art in heaven. Our Father who art in heaven.
What?
Our Father who art in heaven.
If anyone out there can figure out exactly what he's supposed to be saying, please let us know.
Other than the ridiculousness of the film, there was actually a bit that we found quite legitimately unsettling. Basically, Strike Commando gets captured at one point by Jakoda and the Viet Cong and tortured over a period of time.
He shares his cell with another wimpier POW who eventually buckles under all the torture and dies. So to emphasize how evil and cruel he is, Dakota decides to leave the dead POW in the cell with Strike Commando.
You can't leave him in a cell with a rotting corpse. It's inhuman.
Ransom is strong. He can take physical pain. It's the mental stress we are after.
So the dead dude begins to decompose, causing Strike Commando to have this realistic, hard-to-watch reaction.
I think I need something to raise my spirits after that.
Our Father who art in heaven!
That'll do nicely.
So eventually Strike Commando and Dakota meet up and for some reason decide to battle to the death hand to hand.
I guess because they're such tough dudes or something.
This fight is truly one of the greatest things we've ever seen for several reasons. This line is one of them.
I break your back!
Also this.
So after punching each other for a while, this happens. Wow. Just wow.
Our Father who art in heaven!
So of course Dakota eventually returns, armed with metal teeth for some reason. So they proceed to fight again until Strike Commando jams a grenade in Dakota's mouth. He explodes, but then yells his final curse after having already exploded.
But that's not the best bit. Strike Commando manages to catch Dakota's metal dentures out of the air and then say a line that is so bizarre, but so amazing that we think it may well go down in history as one of the greatest movie lines of all time.
These Russian dentists make some pretty good dentures. Damn.
This movie is amazing.
I think the way that we feel about this film can best be summed up thusly.
Our Father who art in heaven!
So that's Strike Commando. There is so much that is so wrong with this film, but in the end, we think that's what makes it right. We salute you, Bruno Mattei.
Any similarity between persons living or dead, especially dead, is purely accidental. Yeah, very accidental. Like 1 in a million, maybe.